Listen up, Birds fans, because this is not a drill, and we need to talk about what's happening right now, in real time with our franchise quarterback Jalen Hurts, who is absolutely positioning himself as a legitimate dark horse MVP contender. And frankly, it's about time the national media and voters start putting some respect on his name, because what we're witnessing this season is nothing short of spectacular. And if you've been paying attention, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. Let's get something straight right off the bat, because the numbers don't lie, and they're painting a beautiful picture for us right now. Jalen Hurts currently sits at plus 2,000 odds on FanDuel to win MVP, which, puts him tied for 8th in the league behind the usual suspects like Patrick Mahomes at plus 150, Josh Allen at plus 450, and some other names we'll get to. But here's the thing, that Vegas line is about to shift dramatically. If Hurts keeps doing what he's been doing these last couple weeks, coming out of the bye, and I'm telling you right now, we are witnessing the early stages of an MVP campaign that could genuinely materialize into something special by the time we hit January. Now I know what some of you are thinking, and yes, Mahomes is the favorite, and yes, Josh Allen is having himself a season, and Drake May has been surprisingly impressive for a rookie, and Matthew Stafford and Jordan Love, and even Jonathan Taylor, the running back, are ahead of our guy in the odds. But let me tell you something about MVP races. They're fluid, they're dynamic, and they change week to week based on who's winning, who's making plays in prime time, and who's leading their team to victories when matters most. And guess what? The Eagles are 6-2 right now, sitting pretty atop the NFC East, and legitimate contenders to win back-to-back Super Bowls, which, if you know anything about the history of this award, you know that matters more than almost anything else. Here's why Jalen Hurts is not just in the conversation, but could actually win this thing, and I'm being completely serious here, because the pathway is right there in front of us, clear as day. First and foremost, he plays the most important position in sports, period, end of story. The last 12 MVP awards have gone to quarterbacks, every single one of them. And the last time a non-quarterback won this thing was Adrian Peterson back in 2012, when he rushed for over 2,000 yards, which was an absolutely historic anomaly. And you could argue Saquon should have broken that streak last year. But that's a whole different debate for another time. But the point is, this is a quarterback award, and Jalen Hurts is a quarterback playing at an elite level for a championship contender. Speaking of championship contenders, let's talk about what really matters to MVP voters. Because historically, this award goes to signal callers on really good teams. Like we're talking about dominant squads that are in the mix from week 1 to week 18. The combined record of those 12 MVP winning quarterbacks since Peterson is 156-40. That's an absurd winning percentage, and it tells you everything you need to know about what voters are looking for. They're not handing this trophy to some guy carrying a middling wildcard team on his back, unless you're Cam Newton in 2015, or Matt Ryan in 2016, who were total outliers. Recent winners like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. Twice they've all been leading legitimate Super Bowl contenders from start to finish, and that's exactly what Jalen Hurts is doing right now with this Eagles squad that looks absolutely loaded on both sides of the ball. Now let's get into the actual performance, because this is where it gets really exciting and where the MVP case starts to build some serious momentum. Is Hurts leading the league in passing yards? No, and frankly, who cares? Because he's sitting at 209.6 passing yards per game, which ranks 23rd in the NFL. But you know what he is leading in or near the top of the league in? Efficiency, baby, and that's what wins you hardware at the end of the season. Jalen has thrown 15 touchdown passes against just 1 interception this entire season. Let me repeat that, 1 interception in 8 games, which is absolutely bonkers and shows the level of decision-making and ball security he's playing with right now. Add in 5 rushing touchdowns on top of that, and yeah, some of them are tush-push scores which might cause some voter fatigue, but guess what? A touchdown is a touchdown, and he's getting the job done in the red zone, which is exactly what you want from your franchise quarterback. But here's the stat that should make every Eagles fan's heart sing, and every MVP voter take notice. Jalen Hurts has a passer rating of 114.4, which is the 3rd best in the entire National Football League right now. You want to know how important that is? 8 of the last 9 MVP winners had passer ratings ranked inside the top 3 in their respective seasons. That's not a coincidence, that's a pattern. And Jalen is right there in the mix, checking that box that MVP voters clearly care about when they're filling out their ballots in January. If he maintains this level of efficiency through the back half of the season, while the Eagles keep winning games, he's going to be impossible to ignore. And speaking of the back half of the season, let's talk about what's coming up, because this is where things get really interesting, and where Jalen has the opportunity to make his case in prime time on the biggest stages against the best competition, which is exactly what you need to separate yourself from the pack. He's coming off the bye week, absolutely humming after back-to-back performances that were nothing short of elite. In Week 7 against Minnesota, he posted a perfect 158.3 passer rating, which is literally as good as it gets, mathematically speaking. And then in Week 8 against the Giants, he tied his career high with 4 passing touchdowns, showing he can dominate divisional opponents when it matters. The momentum is real, the confidence is sky high, and the timing could not be better. Now yes, the schedule gets significantly harder moving forward, but that's actually good news for Hurts's MVP candidacy, because it means more opportunities to beat elite teams and elite quarterbacks in games that will be circled on everyone's calendar. We've got primetime matchups against the Packers and Lions coming up in Weeks 10 and 11, followed by an NFC East showdown at Dallas in Week 12, which is always must-watch television. Jalen has already beaten Mahomes, Stafford, and Baker Mayfield this season, adding quality wins to his resume. And now he's got chances to pick up victories over Jordan Love, Jared Goff, and potentially Josh Allen in Week 17, if the Bills stay hot. These are the signature wins that voters remember when they're filling out their ballots. These are the games that define MVP campaigns. Now let's be real for a second, because not every performance has been perfect, and we saw that in Week 2 against Kansas City, when Hurts only threw for 101 yards, which was definitely not going to catch anyone's attention or win him any MVP votes. But here's the thing about MVP races. They're about body of work. They're about peaks and valleys, and they're about finishing strong when the games matter most down the stretch. If Jalen continues to play lights-out football like he has been these last couple weeks, and if he goes out there and absolutely dominates against Green Bay and Detroit and Dallas and whoever else is on the schedule, then his MVP candidacy is going to be very difficult for voters to ignore, especially if the Eagles are sitting at 12-2 or 13-1, or wherever they end up in the standings by late December. The narrative is there, the statistics are there, the team's success is there, and most importantly, the remaining schedule provides the perfect platform for Jalen to showcase his talents against the league's best on national television in games that will determine playoff seeding and potentially home field advantage throughout the NFC playoffs. This is not some pie-in-the-sky fantasy. This is a legitimate, achievable goal if everything breaks right over the next 9 weeks. We're talking about a quarterback who has already proven he can win big games, who has already beaten the reigning Super Bowl champions, who is playing the most efficient football of his career, and who is leading a team that looks fully capable of going back to the Super Bowl and finishing the job this time around. The national media might not be talking about Jalen Hurts as a serious MVP candidate yet, but they will be soon if he keeps this up. And honestly, it's only a matter of time before the conversation shifts, because you can't ignore what's happening in Philadelphia right now. This team is rolling. This offense is clicking, and Jalen Hurts is playing like an MVP whether people want to acknowledge it or not. Those plus 2,000 odds are going to shrink real fast if he goes out and puts up 250 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Packers on Thursday night, because that's how these races work. Momentum breeds more momentum, and attention breeds more attention. So here's what needs to happen for this MVP campaign to go from dark horse to legitimate frontrunner, and it's actually pretty simple when you break it down. First, Jalen needs to maintain this level of efficiency, keeping that touchdown to interception ratio elite, and keeping that passer rating inside the top 3 in the league. Second, the Eagles need to keep winning games against quality opponents, because team success is non-negotiable for MVP voters who want to reward winners, not stat compilers on losing teams. Third, Jalen needs to show up in prime time and deliver signature performances in those big games against the Packers, Lions, and potentially the Bills, because those are the games that everyone watches and remembers. And fourth, he needs to stay healthy and available, because the best ability is availability, and you can't win MVP from the sideline. If all 4 of those things happen, and there's every reason to believe they will based on what we've seen so far, then Jalen Hurts has a real legitimate shot at taking home the MVP trophy this season, which would be absolutely incredible for him, for this franchise, and for all of us Birds fans who have been riding with him since day one. This is happening right now in real time, and we get to watch it unfold over the next 2 months, which is why every single game matters, every single snap matters, and every single opportunity to beat a contender matters, because MVP races are won in November and December, not September and October. The bottom line is this: Jalen Hurts is playing MVP caliber football for a Super Bowl contending team, with a schedule that provides multiple opportunities to add signature wins against elite competition. And if he continues on this trajectory, he's going to be holding some serious hardware come February. The conversation has started. The momentum is building, and now it's up to him to go out there and seize this opportunity, because it's right there for the taking. We're watching something special unfold in Philadelphia right now, and if you're not paying attention, you're missing out on what could be an historic season for our franchise quarterback. This is the time to believe, this is the time to support, and this is the time to recognize that Jalen Hurts is not just a good quarterback. He's an MVP candidate, and potentially an MVP winner, if everything continues to break right. Fly, Eagles, fly, and let's ride this wave all the way to the finish line, because the best is yet to come. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, so you don't miss any updates on Jalen's MVP campaign and everything else happening with your Philadelphia Eagles. Smash that like button if you believe Hurts can actually win MVP this season, and drop your answer in the comments right now. Do you think Jalen Hurts will finish top 3 in MVP voting this year? Option A: yes, absolutely, he's making a real run at it. Or option B: no, the competition is too tough, but he'll get some votes. Let me know what you think, Birds fans. Let's talk about it.